afternoon. No, it's not even evening yet, really, is it? Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the weekly Armchair Sports Talk. Fucking hell, that was close, really, wasn't it? I mean, we were absolutely dreadful that whole game. We were talking a little bit backstage, and lucky to come out with the 3 points. But as Jamie sort of said, 4 points in two games back to back against a rough match. You could see that in the first 10 minutes, nothing could get settled. But yeah, 3 points, sitting in second, and hopefully our neighbours won't get a result today, and that would be absolutely wonderful. But we have obviously played two games more. Keane, thanks for joining me, buddy. Good to have you on again, my man. I hope you're well. Talk to me about how you're feeling.
I was pissed off at that first half. Just like I think, just lack of creativity. I think that really stifled me in that first half. But look, second half was a lot better. We got up the pitch. I think Ten Hag's substitutions paid dividends to get the 3 points today. I think change of shape. Veghorst dropping into number 10, Bruno going out to the
that
right.
worked really well, actually, didn't it? We'll talk about that for sure.
Yeah, I think like it really helped the shape. And then just want to mention, see that little prick Ransom Band, see that prick Saeed, see the both of them. They can both hold that smoke. They two of them can seriously shove that up their arse. Honest to God. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, fair points, and absolutely. We won't obviously give them any sort of airtime at all. Absolute crock of shit is all I'm going to say. Jarvis in the comments, get in there, 3 points, and that is fundamentally what it's all about. And Celtic game, but Ten Hag knew what to do. You know what? I obviously. You know how much I whine on about it every week. I've got a lot of time and respect and think he's doing some wonderful things. But I really feel like he potentially made a mistake today, perhaps with the starting lineup. And I think that the changes did make it in the end and probably got us over the line. But I don't think it was his best day today. But anyway, Jamie, before we go into that a little bit more, tell me about how you're feeling, buddy.
Yeah, like we were saying backstage, the results are all that matters in the end. Performances usually like bad performances, don't really live long in the memory that much as long as you get the 3 points. And at the end of the season, we won't really talk about how bad we were. But again, we've had a scoreline flatter us a little bit. We were poor for 80 minutes of that game, and I agree with. I think the starting 11 was probably wrong, but it signals to me that this could be the end of some players' time at Manchester United. And I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about that. And people can probably guess.
Who do you think? Yeah, go on. Who do you think?
I think Harry Maguire's done. I think we've all wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt at times, and it's one of those things of going, if we can ease him back into the starting 11, maybe he has a bit of a role to play here, but he just doesn't have the skill set to play in this Erik ten Hag side. And I want him to be able to salvage his career, and I want him to go somewhere and rebuild himself, get his confidence. But he needs to go back to playing, in a team that likes to defend. Let him tackle, let him hold people off the ball, and let him do what he's good at. But playing in high line defense with this team just doesn't seem to work for him at the minute. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see him gone in the summer. And I think David De Gea is fast approaching his cut-off point now. I know obviously he splits opinion in the fan base. You'll have some people that will completely defend him because he's made some really important saves for us, and no one's discrediting that. The problem is that this Erik ten Hag vision that he has of how we operate in the first phase of attack is not going to happen while De Gea is playing for this club. We saw it this game, and we were so poor in that first phase so many times. And it was just De Gea would pass the ball out to Maguire. Maguire would pass the ball to Shaw. It'd go back to De Gea, who'd then hoof it up, and it'd either be just recycled and brought back at us, or it'd go out for a throw-in. I think we were poor in transition, but obviously that changed with the tactical tweaks that Ten Hag made. Martinez, man, like that man is just is different gravy. Do you know what I mean? Like the fact that one player can make so much difference, and he did. Don't get it twisted. Like he made all the difference. When it came to progressing the ball across the halfway line, he breaks the lines really well with his passing. And to be fair, it wasn't even one of his most aggressive games. He didn't really seem to have that much defending to do when he came on. It was more about how he affected us in that first phase of build-up play. And I agree with Keane, dropping Veghorst into the 10 and allowing him just to maybe win the ball, and that's what created the goals for us. Having that ball-winning ability. And then the only other thing that I'll touch on before we obviously move on is I've seen some people being critical of Fred again. Not the artist, who was obviously he was nominated for a Brit Award. But Fred, our Fred, and people are being critical of him, and I've seen people being critical of Sabitzer, and I think that both takes are poor. I think Fred's been really good for us this season alongside Casemiro in his preferred role, and then I think the problem we've got with both games against Leeds now is that it's so obvious that Sabitzer and Fred want to occupy the same area. They want to occupy the exact same role. They both want to be progressive eights. They both love a challenge, but that does not mean that they're a six. Do you know what I mean? That does not mean that they can sit as a defensive midfielder in the base of a midfield three. So I think that's one of the things that we saw today is that we got overrun quite a lot in midfield. I think that's why Malacia inverted and dropped in there at times just to give them a little bit more of a hand. I don't think we'll have that problem when Casemiro's back. I think they can both rotate. They can both play next to Casemiro, and he'll do most of the defensive screening. And then we've got good ball progressive box to box midfielders in both of them. So, but all in all, we got 3 points away at Elland Road, and 4 points from 6 against. Weirdly, a managerless Leeds that have got a new manager bounce, even though they don't have a new manager, and they look like a decent side. I don't know what Jesse Marsch was doing, man, but that Leeds side were good. They were well drilled. They knew what they wanted to do, and I detest Leeds, but you sort of a neutral would feel bad for them because they probably deserved something from that game. But at the end of the day, we had the difference makers. Rashford is in the form of his life. Like there probably isn't a more informed player in world football at the minute.
No. 9 goals since the World Cup now, and he tops that list out of the top 5 leagues. Yeah,
mad, isn't it? Like he scored 8 in his last 9. He's now scored again 4 Premier League games on the bounce. And I think we're seeing a really nice transition for him, where the conversation has always been, he's only really effective in that left half space, like coming in from the left-hand side. But I think we're now seeing the transition to him being able to play as a centre forward, which is really good for his development. It's good for us as a team. You've constantly had this issue of how do we get Anthony and Sancho in, Rashford in, Garnacho, all these exciting wingers that we want to play. How do you fit them all in? Rashford being able to play at centre forward these days helps us a little bit with that problem. And obviously Garnacho, man, some boy, what a way to respond to the nonsense. Again, I won't talk about it, do you know what I mean? But the nonsense that comes out from certain people who thrive on negativity, do you know what I mean? Like, we used to bully AFTV for doing the exact same thing. Yeah. But it's become profitable. It's a good way to generate, media traffic and things like that. So people do it. But honestly, man, idiots, absolute idiots. And Garnacho showed that. He played 16 minutes or whatever it was. I don't know the full time.
20 something, I think.
Yeah, 20-something. And look how direct he was. Look, he made the difference. And he'll be buzzing with that. So, all in all, decent Sunday. We made more of it than we should have. Sorry, it was long-winded, but I hope I covered a lot of points.
It was very long-winded, man. I might not have to come back to you again, to be honest, but no, thanks very much, mate. Big. He's becoming a bit of a game changer himself, Garnacho. You don't want to be labelled with that, but he's come on numerous occasions, or started and really does sort of bring up in the big moments, and obviously that was a great finish today, in off the post. That's what you like to see, and Rashford yet again with another header, which we're seeing more and more of from him. If you take yourself back about four years ago, he was doing exactly the same then, and a bit more so at least. So yeah, great summary there, buddy. Very much so. Do you think it was lost in the defence then? Obviously, Jamie was talking about the first transition, Keane. But I feel like in the midfield, we weren't able to sort of dominate either. And really, once we did get out of the defensive sort of two, it was really difficult to then push it forward into the midfield. But what were your thoughts on that?
I thought we let it go a lot of loose balls in that first half. Obviously, due to the fact that I think the defence didn't get the ball out quick enough out of the back four. And then obviously anytime Fred or Sabitzer got the ball, they were getting pressed, and Leeds were doing very well with that kind of 4-man press in their first phase. And yeah, like I think McKinney and Adams done very well to negate Sabitzer and Fred in the first half. But we've seen again, like the minute Martinez came on, like he's making them line breaking passes. Though Sabitzer moved out a bit more wide, kind of in almost kind of a kind of wide right role. And we've seen kind of more triangles being played. We've seen a bit more control, though obviously in the second half of the game. But yeah, like I think in that first half we were deliberating on the ball way too much, and I think especially the fact we went kind of almost with a back three, it kind of defeated the purpose of it. But look, I said this during the game. I feel like the fact that you have like Casemiro and Eriksen both out of the team right now, you can see the loss in there in terms of controlling the game, and it just shows the drop off we have when them two aren't playing. Now Sabitzer and Fred, like Jamie said, it's almost like it's a more polished version of what McFred was, because they're literally both trying to do the same job at the minute, and they're kind of getting each other's way, it's kind of square pegs round holes. But look, once Casemiro comes back into the team, look, I think you'll see either one of them beside him for the rest of the season.
Which isn't really fair on Sabitzer. I think there's so much quality there. I still think he's a little bit unfit. He can read the game really well, and it isn't fair on him, because I think when you have someone like Casemiro, you see that improvement. The
organisation would be different. The shape would be different.
Yeah, exactly. And you've seen that improvement on Fred, right? And as soon as they sort of drop back a little bit, and Sabitzer's not been given a fair crack of the whip yet, it obviously does disjoint a lot of things. And yeah, I mean, Casemiro now is out for, how many games was it in total? Was it 5 or 3?
Leicester is the last one next weekend.
Oh, right. Okay. So he's back for Newcastle. Yeah, oh no, Newcastle's totally kept the fish in it, and I thought it was a Premier League game for a minute, but I didn't read it properly. My mistake. And then obviously West Ham on the 1st of March, so that's when he returns. The quicker he returns, obviously, the better. What did everyone make of Jadon's performance today? First 60 minutes in a long time, start the game. Obviously, started the game for first time in a long time. How do you think he fared, Jamie?
I think he did all right. It's a tricky one. He's playing outright. He's not really got any sort of runners in next to him or behind him, so which is one of the things he thrives off. But I think he did well to sort of retain the ball, to hold the ball up. And when we were as disjointed as we were when he was on the pitch, I don't think it's necessarily a fair reflection of his ability. I think everyone was poor for the first 70 minutes. I was talking to my mates when one of them said about Fred being man of the match, and I was just like, realistically, who deserves man of the match out of all of them? Like, we were shocking. So I think Sancho did well. I don't think any of us played particularly well, but again, it's frustrating. And I've said this on this channel loads of times, and it's one of the same things with Anthony, is that we need to have a dynamic runner down that right hand side to provide whoever our right wing outlet is with an option to either drag the fullback or to maybe play a pass out wide and move into space. The last couple of cameos Sancho's made when he's played in the 10, he's looked good because he's on the ball. He's not having to beat people with pace or anything like that. He's not having to drive to the byline. He can just sort of float around, and I think that's where he's positive. So I think it was encouraging. I'm glad to see how Ten Hag's using him at the minute. He's bringing him back in quite well. The fact he bagged the goal at OT the other night was great for his confidence. And a fully fit Sancho is a problem for people, not for us. So it's good. And again, Elland Road's not an easy place to go. The Leeds were up for it. Firpo, the only thing I will say is that Firpo getting booked in that sort of opening 20 minutes, I would have liked to have seen us do more with that. And also, one of the most enjoyable things of the game was when, I don't know if anyone else noticed this, is the Manchester United Twitter admin clearly forgot to switch accounts back to their personal because they were retweeting Danny Higginbottom, talking about how Firpo was on a yellow card, let's get at him. I was like, it's an interesting one. But I agreed with the point. I would have liked to have seen us be a bit more dynamic and to overload Firpo and try and, whether he can get him on a second yellow, force Leeds into the change or whatever. We didn't really exploit that much. But again, at the end of the day, the tactical changes were spot on when they happened. Malacia probably a little bit unlucky to be the one that was hooked, because I think Malacia had a decent game today. He tried and tried and tried.
He was good. Yeah, he was good.
Somerville's a tricky character, and I think he dealt with him quite well. He stopped us going 1-0 down when he managed to put that, just the right amount of pressure on. But yeah, look, these are the games where, under Ranić, and even towards the end of Solskjaer's tenure, these are the games where I don't think we would have got anything. I think we'd have been dominated and probably would have gone 1-0 down and then heads down. Same in a game at OT the other day. We go 2-0 down under Ranić or under Solskjaer towards the end, and it finishes 3-4-0. But this team's got character. This team's got fight in it, and it's one of those that Ten Hag, like that comment just said, then Ten Hag got to be delighted. And a bit more recruitment in the summer. Obviously, we need to see what happens with the sale of the club, but some more recruitment in the summer, so that when we do have suspensions, when we do have injuries, when we need to rotate, we don't have square pegs and round holes. Keane spot on with that. But yeah, I think Sancho, to go back to your original point, he didn't do much wrong. He was all right.
Yeah, he was all right. We'll hopefully kick on from that going forward. Just want to read a couple of things out, actually. Keen's, thank you, mate. Put this in there. Today was David De Gea's 180th clean sheet for the club, equaling Peter Schmeichel's record. Absolute mammoth, that is. And 1 second. Sorry. Joint statement from United and Leeds. Both clubs strongly condemned chants from both sets of fans regarding historic tragedies at today's game. Such behaviour is completely unacceptable, and we will continue to work with our respective fan groups in the Premier League and other authorities on eradicating it from football. I understand, obviously, rivalries can kind of point towards that, but when it comes to big things like that, that's certainly something that can't happen, and none of us on the panel or anyone at this channel will condemn that in any way, shape or form from any club. So just wanted to move on to that and quickly say that. I'll come to some comments in a minute. Maguire's been talking after the game, David De Gea as well, and Erik ten Hag too. You both kind of picked up on it today. Weghorst being dropped back to the number 10. Now, the way I see it for a striker of his calibre and his attributes, he's not necessarily fast, so it doesn't really give him that option. But, when you're only playing one up top, i.e. him, it's very difficult, and that's why we see it with Martial sometimes, but Martial's got a little bit more better gravity about him, and can sort of turn players, has a bit more pace, can do a little bit more from that side of things. But do you think that obviously benefited him today then, Keane? And is that because he's able to then receive it further down the pitch and progress it from there?
Yeah, he definitely made a difference because he was giving and going. Like he take one touch and he'd be back out, bang out to Luke Shaw, bang out to Dallo, and then it was bringing Fernandes into play a bit more as well. Towards the end of the game, so it was a good, I suppose, tactical tweak from Erik ten Hag. I know Shane pointed out in the group chat, and he was like, "Whoa, like Weghorst has gone into the 10. What's going on?" Which look, even I thought originally when he made the change, I was like, "Fuck, he's going 4-4-2. He's going Rashford and Weghorst, and we're going route 1." That's what I thought was going to happen. But no, look, he dropped in, he done well. Personally, I don't see it as a long-term role going forward. But in a game like this, where there's a bit of a physical battle in midfield, I think Ten Hag was very, I think that he showed good tactical nous by putting him in there to kind of negate Leeds' physical threat as well. And the likes of McKinney and stuff like that didn't get on the ball as much when Weghorst went in there.
Yeah, absolutely right. And just to everyone in the comments as well, all familiar faces, we really appreciate you coming back. Make sure you like and subscribe, and really appreciate it. And loads of you on Twitter, come over to youtube.com/weekly armchair sports talk. We want to see your comments. Can't see them on there. We want to talk about those, as I say all the time. So come on over. Yeah, absolutely spot on there. And maybe that sort of gives him a little bit more of an outlet. I was surprised to see him start today, particularly with the performance in midweek. I thought that you might see Rashford up top. And potentially sort of Weghorst dropping to the bench, but that obviously didn't happen. I just wanted to get your opinions quickly on the midfield for the next game. We've got Leicester, who picked up a 4-1 win yesterday, seem to be on a little bit of a surge, even if it's not as big as that sort of thing. But who do we start in that midfield now? Does he keep going with the way that he is? I know we don't really have those options. What about if McTominay comes back? What do we do? Do we just sort of make do until Casemiro comes back? Because I think that's going to be a tough game, and I think that's points we should be getting, if I'm honest. Jamie,
I think.
Or Keane.
Jamie, yeah, go first. Yeah, work away.
I think it's an interesting one because obviously Leicester do on paper have a really good midfield, and that's a battle that without Casemiro we're going to struggle to really get a grip on. I think the result yesterday is probably a little bit of a what was it? A bit of an anomaly.
An enigma, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen Leicester play well consistently over the course of this season so far. I personally don't think that Rodgers is that good of a manager. This is all going to come back to bite me 100%, by the way, by saying this. But Leicester are a good side, you know what I mean? I do think that Leicester are a good side. They've just been in poor form and they're not playing well. I think, when you've got the likes of Tielemans, who you don't know whether he's staying or going, that probably has an impact on the squad. And the recruitment hasn't been great. Whereas previously, I've always praised Leicester for having such a strong recruitment department. I just think that over the last 12 months, it seems to have dropped off a little bit. But, people get things wrong. But I think it's been interesting because obviously the last couple of games, we didn't see it today. I thought we might at some point, but the last couple of games, you've seen Lindelof making little cameos in the six. He's come on. So I don't know whether or not Ten Hag's been trialing that to see what the crack is for a game like Leicester, where we might need a bit more balance in midfield. I think Sabitzer and Fred we can get away with a little bit in a game against Leeds where it's going to be chaotic, it's going to be fiery, and everyone going to be pumped up. But against a team
probably why McTominay does so bloody well against them every time, because it is very much like that. It's more about tenacity, closing it down, winning it back kind of thing, rather than just really having to dictate from the middle.
Yeah, you throw a little bit of chaos in the mix in a game like that, and you sort of get away with it. Like Leeds midfield was chaotic. Do you know what I mean? Like Weston McKennie and Tyler Adams together is a fun combination of footballers. They both really want to win that ball back constantly. We've seen that in both games. That the amount of times that they could have both been booked across the course of the two games. So I think against Leicester, where they've got more of an experienced midfield that are used to playing with each other, Maddison's obviously back from injury. He's playing well again. They're a threat, so we might see Lindelof come in at the six. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why Ten Hag has been trialing in there and doing it, giving him his little cameos just to see what it would look like. It wouldn't surprise me if that's how we're training at the minute. I wouldn't be rushing, because if we had a midfield three, for example, of like McTominay, Sabitzer, and Fred, I think that's chaotic. But too chaotic. So I think we will see an actual, somebody sitting in the six, and we might see Bruno out wide. It depends whether Anthony's back as well. We've seen again over these last two games the importance that Anthony plays in this side, the structure and the discipline that he gives us on that right hand side and the options that he gives us. He's been working really well with Wan-Bissaka over the last few weeks in terms of stopping the counter attacks. And again, they're both developing, and we've said it multiple times that they are developing that partnership, and it's been looking good. So the midfield is going to be an interesting one, and I think that's where that game's going to be won or lost for us. So it'll be important to see what we work on in training this week. And like I say, it wouldn't surprise me if we see a more recognised six role being undertaken in that game.
Yeah, absolutely right. It's very, very fortunate, really, that we have got the likes of Casemiro that can play against Barcelona next week. Is it now?
Do you know that as well, Mark? I think Jamie hit the nail on the head as well, like that midfield, because you also have to take into account we've 2 Barcelona games in between that.
Yeah.
So, I think we need Fred's energy, I think, against Barcelona in terms of winning the ball back in beside Casemiro. So, I think Casemiro and Fred will be the preferred partnership against them. I really do. Just because of their aggressive nature. I think they both have an understanding. I think Sabitzer, I think that you rightly mentioned that he's not as sharp. I think Barcelona would not be the game to play him. So I think having Fred in there beside Casemiro will work. But I think Jamie might be onto something. Maybe playing if against Leicester, playing Lindelof, Sabitzer, and probably Bruno Fernandes in front. Yeah. So Sabitzer can be more of an 8, and if Fernandes, let him be a 10. Just let him just float in that 10 role against them. But yeah, it's interesting because again, you've Jadon Sancho there as well, who can also play number 10. Could we go something like, for maybe more stability in midfield, could you go maybe Sancho on the 10, Fernandes out on the right, like we've seen in the second half against Leeds the other day. So there's so many different combinations we can use. But I think
we saw that a bit today as well, didn't we? We went over to the right hand side, and at the beginning of the season when we saw it a couple of times, I think we were all very up in the area. We weren't sure if it was working, but it's kind of worked as time's gone on, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think everyone should remember every time Bruno got sent out on the right hand side, I was going off my head saying, why are you putting him out on the right? But he's actually Ten Hag has proved me wrong massively on that one. He's doing a job out there, and I hold my hands up. I'm going to hold that smoke from Ten Hag.
A lot of smoke being held today, isn't there? A lot of smoke being held.
There's a lot of smoke being held today. But look, that's absolutely great to see. But look, I think today, in the context of it all, it's a smash and grab. It's 3 points. And when you consider the results in the league this weekend, Chelsea dropping points, Liverpool yet to play, but they're playing a derby game tomorrow. And then you have Arsenal dropping points, Tottenham dropping points, City potentially, now look, they're playing now literally in a couple of minutes time. If they drop points, this could be a fantastic weekend for United. So I think Ten Hag's substitutions, when you put it into context of everything that's gone on, is a masterstroke from him today.
Yeah, definitely. We were criticising him, a lot of us in the group chat. At least we felt like he wasn't quite on it, but he certainly changed it around with the substitutions made. 100%. Martinez, I want to come to you about that. And you keen about that? Fucking hell, honestly, all over the place. I've only had one drink, my first drink. Lysandro Martinez in 29 minutes versus Leeds. 29 minutes, right? 88% pass accuracy, 38 touches, 34 passes completed, 3 tackles won, 3 ground duels won, 2 out of 3 long balls completed, and 2 ball recoveries. That's insane, isn't it? He's just, I love him. And I think it was absolutely evident today. But go on, Kane, talk to me about him a little bit more.
Oh, he was top. Like, you can see the composure he brought to the team the minute he came on the pitch. Like, you see the likes of Shaw calm down, Maguire even to an extent calm down. And then we've seen Fred being brought into the game much more because Lisandro Martinez is there to distribute. And yeah, our good friend Spitty from Liverpool admitted he was wrong the other day as well. So look, he's a top player. He's top professional, and it's just refreshing to have that type of Rolls Royce defender in our back four right now. And it's something that we've been lacking since Rio and Vidic left. And I know we've had Daily Blind done okay there, but like, we have the full package of Martinez. He can be aggressive. He can be that Rolls Royce. He can be, I think genuinely he's a complete defender, because even for his height, he's brilliant in the air as well. I genuinely think he's a complete defender. And again, as always, it's tradition now when me, Mark, and Jamie are on the same show, and Martinez has a good game.
Yes, I'm sorry. I every time. You know what? I do apologise. We do talk about the same things, but sometimes, when I just going through some stats and stuff, I wanted to kind of pull it up, but you can't. As much as we can critique and go in and whatever, and you want to talk about even the little cameos for 29 minutes, and he's a hugely important player for us. Another hugely important player for us. Played the centre-back a few times this season. Probably going to play centre-back against Barcelona as well, I would have thought. Luke Shaw. And I'll come to you on him in a minute, Jamie. Just quick, a few things for you first. 88 touches, 79% pass accuracy. I can't get my words out, bro. 8 ground duels won, 6 ball recoveries, 3 clearances, 3 blocks, 2 key passes, 2 air duels won, 2 out of 3 dribbles completed, 1 interception, 1 big chance created, 1 assist. Fucking hell, man. Go on.
Yeah, he was mint again. I've said this quite a few times, is that, he's back to being, arguably the best left back.
So it's a good league. Luke Shaw to watch, isn't it?
Yeah. We've had our little issues with him and stuff in the past, and we've always said that he does need somebody pushing him in the squad to get the best out of him. That brief period where we first signed Alex Telles, and Luke Shaw decided again he wanted to play football. We brought Malacia in, and again he's back to his best. So I don't know whether it's to do with Ten Hag's management, or whether again he just loves having that bit of competition. But he's been the best left back in the league this season, and I don't even think that's up for debate. Like, granted, the talent pool's shrunk a little bit. Cancelo's left now, and he was poor. Zinchenko's been out injured quite a lot. Liverpool have been shocking. So there's not really been much competition for him, but he is phenomenal. He's back to his best, and I think it might be the best form we've seen him in. It's reminiscent of when he first started to build that partnership with Memphis Depay before the injury.
Yeah, the leg.
It's that fearlessness of him wanting to get down that left-hand side and provide an attacking outlet for us. And we saw that with the chance that he created for Marcus. That ball could not have been put more on a plate. And obviously Rashford's decided to add headed goals to his Arsenal now as well. So he is turning into a complete forward. Look, the fact that Shaw can play in either of those two spots, I think, is massive for Ten Hag, especially with Martinez being out for the Barcelona game. We need to have a good left-footed, left-sided centre half who can progress the ball. It's one thing that Varane is a phenomenal defender, but playing Varane next to if we were to play him next to Maguire, I think we instantly lose that ball playing transitional ability that we have when Martinez is on the pitch. So I think that Varane and Shaw, when Martinez is out, is probably our best centre half partnership that we have at the minute. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me to see him for Barca. But again, he was a monster today. He frustrated Leeds. He made that switch to left back so flawlessly as well when we brought Malacia off. He carried out his instructions perfectly. And again, you watch how he creates that space for himself and delivers that ball in for Marcus's goal. Like, he's unplayable. When he's in this sort of form, he is unplayable. And for me, like, team of the season, That left
I
back
think
spot
so.
is his
Currently.
lockdown. Yeah.
Let's also not sleep on that cross to Marcus Rashford. Fucking hell. Amazing.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Inch perfect. He could not have put that on more of a plate. And I think that's one thing that we were potentially missing. I mean, granted, again, we didn't create anything in the first 60 minutes realistically, apart from that, that Bruno chance that he should have put away. But as soon as Shaw went out to left back, you see that we create more down that left hand side. He has a really good understanding of what Rashford's going to do. Those two have a mint link up. They have a wicked partnership.
They do. They did 3 years ago as well. We saw so much. You remember the green? Sorry, I didn't even mean to say his name, but that one with him, Martial and Rashford, at sort of the beginning of Ollie's reign. The partnership down that left hand side was unbelievable.
Exactly. And when you've got Rashford drifting over into the centre forward role, Garnacho's undercutting as well, and he's trying to play in that same area. And then you've got Luke Shaw. That's a triangle of really attacking, direct intent. Like, it's exciting to watch, and that's where we're going to get a lot of joy throughout the rest of the season. So yeah, Shaw probably was my man of the match in the end. On a day where we could have easily lost, 2-3-0 if they'd have taken the chances. To be talking about the fact that he probably put in about an 8 out of 10 performance. I think he did his centre half roles really well. He wasn't at fault for sort of any of the defensive errors that we were making. And then, of course, when he switched over to left, he created the opportunity for the first goal. And that's what then changed the game for us in that last 10, 15 minutes. So he would have been my man of the match as well.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I'm just going to read you something that I think you'll both like, and certainly everyone in the comments will as well. Alejandro Garnacho has been directly involved in more goals as a substitute than any other player in the Premier League this season. Nice. Right, let's move on then. So, David De Gea, we're going to do ratings now. I want everyone to get involved, all you lot in the comments as well, and those you on Twitter to come over to YouTube so we can see those comments and go through them together, because that's nice on a Sunday afternoon. David De Gea, Keane, you first, buddy.
I give David De Gea, look, his distribution today was not great at all, but he did pull off a couple of good saves to keep us in the game. And there was one in particular was with Summerhill that he saved with his feet.
Yeah, with his foot.
He's done really, really well. I give David De Gea 7 today because for his saves, I think for keeping us in the game and keeping a clean sheet, I'd give him a 7. Now, look, I know Jamie's mad to laugh there, but he doesn't make them saves. We don't. Let me just
get the popcorn. Hang on.
Top 4 race. So if that, I give him a 7 anyway, because I think you give him a 6 on keeping the clean sheet and making vital saves. I think
I do agree. Actually, I do agree with you. I understand Jamie's face, and initially I was thinking actually maybe it's a bit too generous, but he kept us in the game, made some great saves, and kept clean sheets. You said.
Just on that, I wasn't going to laugh. I love your opinions and I love your footballing, Brink. I was not going to laugh. It was more me going, fucking hell, like maybe I am a bit harsh. Do you know what I mean?
So you're the problem, not Keane. I see.
Oh yeah. That's what I mean.
Mark, let's be honest. When do I ever be like praising David De Gea? When do I actually ever?
No, I agree. I agree.
Be generous with him. It's very rare these days.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with everything you said, and I think 6 or 7 from anyone, I couldn't disagree with you. But I think he did lots of things today to really give him the 7. I think so. I can't disagree with you. Right, moving on to Diogo Dalot. Jamie,
I gave him a 4. I think I was really disappointed with him today.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know whether he's still, nursing a bit of a knock, and and again, I want to be patient with him while he works his way back into full fitness, because he was fantastic before the injury. He was fantastic at the World Cup for Portugal, and he really looked to have that right back spot nailed down. But I think he's been quite poor the last 2 times I've watched him, and today he just didn't really seem to want to get at Leeds. I really thought he was going to be picking the ball up and want to just make runs and try and get down their defensive left-hand side. But he just didn't really want to do that. I didn't see him progress the ball much. I think he was quite shaky. And again, don't get me wrong, like that Wilfred Gnonto is some player. Like he is a boy. So I can imagine, it was tricky for Diogo to have to defend against him. But I would have liked to have seen him put a little bit more pressure on their defensive left side. But yeah, I'd probably give him a 4.
Yeah, I think he was poor today.
So we'll talk about goalkeepers for a second. The absolute state of Martinez for City's goal there. My God.
Scored already?
Yeah,
Yeah,
1-0.
Rodri
Who
scored
scored?
from a corner.
Who did?
Rodri.
Oh, fuck Rodri. Haaland is all right. Other than that, I want them to lose. All right, moving on to Harry Maguire then. King.
Give him a 6. I think you can maybe give him a 5, maybe, but you kept a clean sheet. Made a few, I suppose, in the air, he was actually brilliant today. Like, from an aerial standpoint, I think Maguire did win a good few duels up there and with Bamford. But again, nothing major. He just done his job. I think just a steady Eddie 6.
Yeah, I think you're right. And good comment here, actually. One thing I noticed is David De Gea is back to his whole sloppy distribution. Jamie perfectly summed this up earlier with Maguire on the field. It doesn't really, there's not a quick enough transition at least, and therefore they could kind of pass it side to side and back to the keeper again. And of course, he's forced to go long. I don't think that's his fault. We know his distribution shit, but he's forced into that position a lot of times today. But yeah, fair points, keen on Maguire. Luke Shaw, then I give you him, Jamie. I know you've already spoken about him, but just give me a rating and anything else you want to
add. Probably an 8 out of 10. Like I say, to fulfil both roles that he did today against Leeds away at Elland Road, and he did them both flawlessly, I think. So yeah, solid 8 out of 10, man of the match for me.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. I think he was superb and good to see that. And as you say, I mean, to go from one position to another, it takes some doing. And I think you did that flawlessly, as you said. So brilliant stuff. Plus, I've got Luke Shaw and Rashford in my fantasy team, so that's nice for me. Anyway, right, moving on to Malacia. King.
He didn't do too bad, but he didn't do great either. But one thing I did like about him was the fact he was up for today, and his aggression was there, and his tackling was good. Look, I think we know going forward he probably still lacks a bit to be desired. But look, he's still young, he's still developing, and look, I think from a defensive point of view, he's actually quite good. So I'll give him a 6.5 on that thing. I'm surprised he even stayed on the pitch. But that, like the collision with his head that he took onto the ground,
yeah,
that looked really rough.
There. The missus, right? She bless her, reads a book when football's on, and honestly, I've never known someone to not have any interest whatsoever. It's hard work getting her to watch England, but she saw that moment and she made a comment, so that means something. But yeah, I'm surprised. He didn't do himself more damage, but listen, we've spoken about him so many times. I really am excited by him, and I will stay on that train until either he tells me not to. But I think he works hard, and he likes going forward. I think he likes tucking into that inside a little bit in the midfield, which is quite nice to see. I think he's actually very good on the ball and out and off the ball too, and defensively, as you said, very, very good. Let's move on to Fred. Jamie?
See, I'm going to give him a 7 here, right? He picked up a booking dead early, and I think Fred last season would have gone off. Do you know what I mean? Like he would have been sent off. So I think that
as daft as that might sound, 7s out for either keeping us in the game or not getting sent off. Is that how we're working?
Genuinely, just right. If Keane can give De Gea a 7, I can give Fred a 7.
Okay.
I think Fred was very good in the second half, though. I think he was.
He was much better.
Yeah,
but he was winning second balls. He was aggressive, and I think it's fair to give him a 7. Now, if you're doing half and half, first half you probably give him a 5. Second half you definitely give him a 7, like 100%.
Yeah, and like I say, I just think that that's probably a daft reason, and I said that because he didn't get sent off. But it's just nice to see that level of composure from him that he didn't necessarily have.
I sit here and watch you laughing at everyone else, Jamie. So I thought I'd.
I don't laugh at everyone else at all. He's going to say just there's certain ones sometimes, but no. I think he was pretty solid. He did well. He was overrun at times, and he kept his head. And he made some quite important challenges. And again, in transition, he's becoming much more astute. And I think that the player that we've seen him become when Casemiro's next to him, he still maintains some of that when he's out. I've seen people talking about, he needs to go in the summer and things like that. And I was so critical of Fred 12 to 18 months ago. That was because he was playing in a pivot alongside Scott. Whereas now, because he's been playing next to the best defensive midfielder in the world, he's been able to just be an 8 and actively play as he wants to play. And I think that carried over a bit today. So yeah, for me, he was good.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I think that's summed up really, really well. Moving on to Savitsa, King.
I give him a 6. I think first half again he was kind of, his touches were a bit loose. So he was finding it hard to get into the game. But second half again he was better. His switch to Luke Shaw, which I think we actually haven't highlighted once on the pod. His switch to Luke Shaw was lovely. In the second half to enable Shaw to get that assist. It's funny, we mentioned Fred a couple of seconds before that. I was hoping Fred would open up his body to release Shaw on the left hand side. And then it came back to Sabitzer, and then that was a brilliant switch play. So good distribution by him. And look, again, I think with him, it's going to come down to sharpness, like getting games. Like he only played a couple of minutes since November, didn't he? Before he came to United. So like, look, there's time, there's plenty of football. And look, at the rate we're going as a football club right now, we're gonna go deep into, like, well, we're already in the Carabao Cup final. I dare to say, like, look, we'll probably go deep into the FA Cup as well. So look, there's got to be plenty of games for him to settle in, especially with Ericsson being out. So look, I give him a 6.5.
Just on that as well, Sabitzer is such a. That's a nice comment, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a nice comment.
It stresses me out playing Leicester, though. I swear that they always find form when they play us. Do you know what I mean?
Madison just have a stormer next week now.
Yeah, exactly. But again, man, the guy's a baller.
I was gonna just quickly, actually, I forgot to say this earlier. Madison, I'd absolutely love at United. I think.
100%.
Rotation with Bruno,
he grew up supporting United as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
no disrespect to Leicester. I do like Leicester as a club. I think they're well run, and I think at a time when money is being thrown around football, I think Leicester have shown how to do football properly. But anyway, moving back to my point, I think with Sabitzer and Fred, I think that they're such wicked options to have, because obviously when our whole midfield's fit, you really see you probably only play one of them at most. I don't see them getting in over anyone else in that midfield, like as a pair. But being able to bring Sabitzer on in the 60th minute mark and bring that energy, bring those legs in, because the man's got an engine to that. He's got 3 lungs. Or being able to bring Fred on is such a nice option to have coming off the bench. And I think, like Keane's spot on there, with the amount of games we're going to be playing this season, in theory, to be able to have the engine of both of those people, because they can run for 90 minutes and not stop. Do you know what I mean? Like they're two of the fittest people I think I've ever seen play for us. Being able to bring one of them on at full fitness in the 60th minute and provide those legs into the midfield will be a massive benefit to us over the course of the rest of the season.
Yeah, absolutely right, and no problem at all. We like new people coming in, having a little look,
and if you are a Leicester fan, by the way, and if you're a Leicester fan, by the way, and you're comfortable coming on pods, jump on their preview this week as well for the Leicester game if you're up for it. It'd be good to hear Rodgers about yourself.
There you go. All you have to do is turn up sometimes, say hello, be nice, and you might get a welcome on the pod. There you go. Yeah, easy peasy. Right, going forward then, Bruno Fernandes. Keno, you want that, yeah?
He's frustrating today. Look, he's been really good the last few weeks, but today he was off the boil. He should have scored. And look, especially when he was more central, he was getting phased out of the game. I thought Adam's done a job on him, done a really good job on him, and didn't give him time of day on the ball. I give Bruno 5 today. Just based off that first half, I thought it was really bad. Should have scored. Second half, look, when he got on the ball on the right hand side, he was a bit better, but. I think today was one of Bruno's poorer games in the last few weeks, so I give Bruno a 5.
Yeah, I think he's so 1 minute he's incredible, and other moments he's just, it wasn't his game state, and I think we've seen a few more of that recently. But yeah, really, really poor. He should be finishing that chance really. I think he probably ended up taking it too close to Meliu in the end. Didn't need to go so close, but. Very, very mixed bag today. First half was really poor, much better coming out the right hand side, and hopefully he starts to pick up in the middle a little bit more going forward. We're going to need him, that's for sure. Right, moving on to, you already spoke about Jadon, so I'm not going to ask you. I asked you on Rashford today, Jamie.
Yeah, I think he was probably quite frustrated in the first half. I don't know what it's been about these last 2 games, but Luke Elland has just turned into a different class of right back. I was honestly, man, at Old Trafford on Wednesday, I was screaming. Like the guy was stressing me out. Do you know what I mean? Like every time Garnacho tried to get past him, and I was just constantly sat there. It was Thursday. Lost track of my days. You know what I mean? Every time he has one of our wingers seem to try and make direct runs past him, he just has this burst of pace, and he reads the game so well. Do you know what I mean? So as much as I dislike the man who plays for Leeds, this is a bit of a Luke Elland appreciation moment. Like he was a phenomenal fullback against us in both games. But as soon as Rashford obviously makes that transition from playing as an inside left forward to playing centre forward, I think changes Rashford's game a little bit. I think the goal saved him today from getting a bit of a weak rating. But, the form that he's in, that's what you want him to do. He can stay quiet for 80 minutes if he's popping up with goals like that every week. And if he continues this run of scoring form, I've just seen a thing from Statman Dave talking about his 2023 form, and it's absolutely crazy. So let the kid do what he wants to do. Erik ten Hag has just got his number. He knows exactly what he wants to do with Rashford, and he's becoming the player that we all knew that he would. Everyone that slagged him off, people were calling him Welbeck 2.0 and stuff like that, and people were saying that he wasn't good enough for Manchester United. All have egg on their chin, because this man is just a different class. I hope he stays at United.
Specifically on their chin.
Yeah, just on their chin. Do you know what I mean? Oh, it's egg on their face, is the saying, isn't it? Not egg on their chin. Never mind. You knew what I meant, though.
I tell you what, bro, you are lining them up for me today. Go on.
I know. Yeah, he was gonna say you usually big me up all the time. You're here terrorizing me today. Look, I hope he stays at United for the rest of his career. I hope he never leaves us ever, because he's a phenomenal footballer. And anyone that never thought he was just doesn't know football and is a muppet. It's as simple as that. But I'd give Rashford a 7 today because he got the goal. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was so important that he got that. It was a wicked goal to get, and I think it was his movement and his positioning that created that opportunity alongside Luke Shaw's ball. So 7 out of 10 for me. Wicked.
Yeah, talking about that stat for him just quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games. In the last 10 games, he blanked on 2. One of them he got 1 goal and 2 assists. Another one he got 2 assists. Another one he got 2 goals and then scored in each of the others. It's quite incredible, really, and absolutely over the moon for him, to be honest. Absolutely over the moon. Right, Jadon Sancho, keen.
Give Sancho a 6.5. I think he was tidy. He got us up the pitch in the second half. Sorry, in the first half when he gave us a bit of respite when we were under the cosh. I think, look, for a 60-minute performance for a player who hasn't played in a couple of months, I think he done all right. He looked good in the ball. I think we've seen in flashes.
There is something different about him on the ball at the minute since he's come back. Even the little appearance he's had, you can see he just looks a little bit more electrifying. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to say
you can see the composure he brings to the team. And you can see, Mark, the composure he brings to the team, and how he can bring others into play, but also his feet are really quick, and his decision making is very good. But again, with match sharpness and match fitness, I think Jadon's going to be a very, very vital player for us between now and the run-in. Because look, when you see games like this where we might have as much of the ball as we were used to, and then he's a player who can do a release of Rashford, he can release to a Garnacho up the pitch, and even bring Bruno into play. So I think he's someone who he's had his problems, but if we can get him just fit, firing, and full of confidence, we're going to be a dangerous side for anyone in this league and anyone in Europe for that matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hopefully we can see more of that. Really, really pleased and proud of him actually coming back. Obviously, all the issues. And hopefully it keeps kicking on. We keep saying this every week, every game, but hopefully that still continues to happen. Right, we'll do Wout Weghorst next. Jamie?
First half, I'd have given him a 2. But like Keane said, the game being the game of 2 halves, I'd have given him a 2 in the first half and probably like a 6 in the second. So I'll just balance it out at about 5. I think no one expected Weghorst to come into this team and score 20 goals. Do you know what I mean? He wasn't being brought in for that matter, I don't think. I did, however, expect him to be a little bit more of an aerial threat and to potentially give us a bit of a different outlet. And so far, it just hasn't clicked for him. His pressing numbers are good, don't get me wrong, and I like what he does off the ball. He occupies areas quite well, and he allows a bit more space for our runners. And so I do appreciate that side of his game. There was just that one moment that really summed it up where he jumps, the ball's in the midfield and it's in the air, and he jumps for the header, misses the first one, and then misses the second one. And I'm like, you're about 7'2", brother. How are you not winning at least one of these headers? But playing in the 10, it was like I'm a big fan of Marouane Fellaini, and I think I've said that on this show before. And it was like watching prime Fellaini ball. Do you know what I mean? Trapping the ball, bringing it down, and giving it to more gifted players that that are better technically than you is such a phenomenal and noble trait of some footballers. Knowing my job here is to win this ball high in the air, bring it down, and just give it to someone that's better than me. And he did that quite a few times. As soon as he dropped into the 10, so I rated that. But I just would like to see him add a little bit more to his game, whether that is knocking the ball in behind for a runner.
Yeah, it's so difficult to really pinpoint what that extra bit is. Do you know what I mean? Because he hasn't played poorly. There have been a few times when he against Leeds in the week when he should have really brought that ball down. You know, the one that was quite close to the byline in the end. It's so frustrating, but you know.
I think the way we're set up doesn't necessarily play to his talents. He strikes me as somebody that would work well in like a split striker partnership. Being able to bring the ball down for a smaller, nippier, faster striker and play them in behind, I think would work quite well. He was unlucky not to have a goal at the end, so I don't want to fully discredit his performance. I'm not having a go at him at all. It's just one of those that he's still gelling in this team. He's still embedding himself. But yeah, I think the way in which we're utilising him at the minute doesn't necessarily play to his strengths. We look to play the ball in behind, and it goes past Weghorst all the time. So rather than playing the ball to Weghorst and letting him do the flick on or letting him trap the ball and play it in behind, we're just sort of missing him in that phase of build up. The amount of times I saw like Dalot pick the ball up and spray that diagonal pass, trying to go for Rashford, and it's like you've got a big target man playing centre forward who can trap that ball, and it gives us a bit more of an option. Use him. So yeah, I don't think it's necessarily his fault. And I think, as far as loans go, I think he'll do all right and he'll be remembered fondly.
Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely spot on, Jamie, as always, my man. Right. I think that's pretty much it. I don't know if you got Keen. Do you want to do a rating on Garnacho? Obviously, lots to talk about him recently, but you want to give him a rating?
Look, we know Luke Shaw's man of the match, right? And I completely wholeheartedly agree with Jamie on that. But just for all intensive purposes, for my old buddies over on them piss poor channels, I'm going to give him just a lovely 10 out of 10. But he's not man of the match, but he's getting 10 out of 10 just so they can hold that smoke. And look, they have egg in their face. I know we're talking about egg on chin and whatever, egg on face, whatever phrase you want to say. But they literally have egg on their face right now. The fact that a 35-year-old man's abusing an 18-year-old child is just, look, that shows what type of person he is. He lacks balls. He really does. And yeah, look, Garnacho is the future of Manchester United. And no Tottenham Hotspur fan that is going to tell us otherwise, because he doesn't support Man United. He's a Tottenham fan. His own brother slipped out and said he was a Tottenham fan. So yeah, look, Garnacho, absolutely amazing. And look,
great finish.
Cry more. That's all they can do.
Absolutely. And just to answer this bit, really, can you see this being a platform for some kind of era under Ten Hag, as he really seems to be coming into his own running smoothly? I think we can all see the massive benefits. We've spoken about this on numerous occasions. All those crazy decisions or non-existent decisions that we may have seen, certainly under Ralph and maybe sometimes under Ollie, aren't happening, and he can really sort of he's bringing something great. Now we still need to get rid of those owners, and obviously with reports coming out over the last couple of weeks and certainly in the last couple of days, I think it is only a matter of time now. TikTok. And I can't wait for that. And again, as rival fans, you might think, yeah, but you spent money, but there's a load more to it than that. So I can't wait till those fuckers are out of the club. Anyway, boys, really appreciate you joining me. Glad you enjoyed it. Glad it was 2-0 in the end. Glad it was another 3 points. And yeah, we can have a nice Sunday afternoon creating homemade pizzas. Well, that's what I'm going to be doing anyway. So anyway, listen, we're going to have a preview for you in before the next game. It'd be nice, obviously, if the geezer in the comments is on as well. Make sure you tune into that one, and probably a match reaction straight after that from myself. Sorry.
We do so many shows this week, Mark. We have Phil Brown tomorrow.
Yeah.
Then we will have that's on the takeover, by the way. So if anyone who wants information on the takeover, do check that out tomorrow night. And also then preview, like Mark said, for Barcelona, that'll be Wednesday night. Then obviously Thursday night the match reaction, and then Friday night, and we'll have the Leicester preview. So yeah, look, plenty of content coming up.
Absolutely spot on, brilliant. Anyway, guys, enjoy your the rest of your Sunday afternoons and evenings, and we'll see you next time.